Hello, hello. Those who just joining us, I am Mike Stidall. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Technology Marketing Toolkit, and you are absolutely in the right place for free fast scale strategies the top 1% of MSPs are using to grow their business. We will get started in just a minute. We have Zoom's telling me we got a ton of people joining here, so we will wait till everyone's joined. But Rob, what's a question we should ask people um, while they uh, while they're on, so they can go into the chat and answer the question.
Yeah. Um, are you ready to actually take action to become one of these top 1% MSPs? I think,
Okay,
not just to learn about it and then take a bunch of notes and then say, yeah, that sounds great. I'll get to that in 10 years. Are you actually ready to take some action?
okay, there we go. So we're getting okay. I like it. DM says they want to be in the top 0.1%
Okay.
of MSPs. Max says 100%. I think he's meaning 100%. He's ready to take action, not that he wants to be in the top 100%.
Yeah.
So
Well,
maybe,
because you already have achieved that somehow.
yeah,
So
yeah.
good
Congrats.
job. Good job. Way to start.
Unless you're just starting out, which who knows? We could have some people. So plan the work, work the plan. Hey, maybe let's put that in here too. So, um, how many years have you had your current business, your MSP? So throw that in the chat. And it looks like we're leveling out, so we will get started in just a minute. We're not just going to ask a bunch of random questions of you here. So let us know. Okay, 9 years, 1 year, less than one. 4 years, 5, 6 months. So we got some newbies here, 12, 17, 34 years. Longest I've seen, 52 years in business. Holy cow. He was like working for NASA at the time with computers on
Damn.
there, like original IBM.
That was before like
So
people
up,
were even running with coax. I mean,
and we
that's
have someone who
wow.
just entered a really long thing. Um, okay, so okay, probably don't need that yet in here, but that's okay.
Oh, is that one
34
of
years.
those answers like, oh, I've been trying to be your friend on Facebook a long time, and it's like just a picture of somebody's, and you're like, no, you haven't. Was it that
I
kind of
wish.
answer?
Yeah, Howard saying
Yeah.
punch card era, punch
Mm.
cards.
Wow.
Holly, 26 years. Awesome. Okay.
Cobalt,
Uh,
Cobalt. Yeah.
not the owner, but it's been 25 years. Okay. Well, very cool. Um, okay. Well, let's see. Okay. We've leveled out. So let's go ahead and officially get started. You ready, Rob?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready. Let me
Okay.
just
That's where you can stop talking. I'll
oh,
start us. Yeah. Yeah. I was
oh,
just asking
let's
if you were ready. Yeah.
oh, I'm ready. I'm ready
Okay. Sounds good. Well rehearsed.
to
So,
talk.
right.
Okay.
So, hello and welcome. You guys are absolutely in the right place to get the three fast scale strategies the top 1% of MSPs are using to grow their business right now. I'm going to be kind of your MC for the day. My name is Mike Stidola, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Technology Marketing Toolkit. If you haven't checked us out, I know we had our sister publication, MSP Success Magazine. Um, Sending this out also. So say hello if we haven't met there, or if you're on the Technology Marketing Toolkit list and we haven't met yet already. And today we've got a special presenter who's Rob Patterson. We'll learn more about him in just a minute, but he's really going to be going through these strategies with you to help your business out. Rob is the GM, the general manager of the Producers Club, which is the top level of membership here at Technology Marketing Toolkit. And those are comprised of members from one to what's the biggest member
Oh,
MSP that
it's
that you know of?
it's beyond 15, 18. I think maybe even a
Oh,
little beyond. But I
yeah.
think
Well,
the
I know we
average
have
is
some at
somewhere in
50
three.
million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
don't know him. I don't know him.
okay. So I'm done asking Rob questions here.
Yeah.
So
Come on,
perfect.
random questions.
So yeah, Producers Club, it's an invite only membership that you have to be at least at a million or right there, going to be hitting that imminently. And it's really for people who want to grow to 3, 5, 10 million or more. And so that's why we've got this here today. And we're really putting on this webinar because it was about a month ago. Rob and team hosted a small private um, little 1 day session down in Orlando that they were testing out and just kind of seeing how it went with some fast growth strategies. And it was so well received and well attended that we're like, hey, this was only for 40 people. we should probably get this out to a lot more people. We have all the information. We've got all the presentations. So we've tried to pack as much as we could from a day worth of learning into a single hour here. So we've taken the best of the best. It's going to be a little bit higher level, but we are going into specific strategies and then giving you those first steps to that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Rob. So Rob, take it away.
All right, let's jump into some of the specifics of what we're going to cover from that top 1%. It was like we were going to start with figuring out what separates them from the rest. We are going to click twice to find out that the 3 fast scale strategies of the top 1% and how any MSP can use these strategies in their business, in your business. Why should you listen to me? You heard that I'm the GM of Producers Club. I actually moved my family to Franklin, Tennessee, just under 6 months ago. Came to work at TMT. I was living in New York. We were just ready for a change from New York, and we kind of went all in and moved down here. This is my lovely wife, Ina, and my daughter Mila. Um, I've been around this industry for at least 20 years. I started up a web design company back in the day when all local retailers were saying, "Why do we need websites? We have business cards." And I didn't follow through enough on that business because apparently there was a boon there. I was ahead of it, but didn't fully grab it. I didn't leverage the right resources and the right knowledge. Um, I did have a period of my career where I was a network admin for a 50 user nonprofit. This was around the days of a small business server. For some of you guys are definitely going to know that if you've been around as long as you have. Um, I was a co-founder in an early startup. I was director of sales and marketing there. I did a lot of account management there. In the last 10 years, I spent as director of sales and marketing for an MSP out of New York. When I got there, they were under 1.5 million. We grew it to over 5 million. I helped build that leadership team. We implemented EOS, that whole traction. We self-implemented that, and I really got to understand, the challenges of trying to be a leader in a company that's growing, and also a director of sales and marketing, and how you figure out these strategies, and how you go and sell, and how you go and close. I also am always been active in community. Around that same period, back in the small business server days, I did start and run the largest peer group of Microsoft small business specialist partners, or at least one of them in the country. We had over 300 members then. We met in Manhattan every month. And, that was when Microsoft really was focused on that small business partner segment, and it was a good time to scale and grow in there and understand things. And I've been a TMT client for over 8 years. Producers Club, Accelerators Club, kind of been around that block. So enough about me. Let's get into what we're talking about here. So we want to understand what a 1% MSP is. So we're going to start with what one isn't, which is like an average MSP has slow to normal growth, um, typically not tremendous profits, low profits, low salary for owners. So let me just ask you, do you think most owners overpay or underpay themselves? Maybe we could quickly throw that in the chat. Compared to market rates, A is overpay, B is underpay. I don't even need Mike to come on and tell me. I'm just going to tell you that the answer is that you typically really underpay yourselves, um, which is not a great thing. Here's a average salary chart. We pulled this. This is actual data. If you're in the $1 to $2 million range, your take-home pay should be somewhere up 150 to 180, and on up. So if you're not paying yourself this is one area to start to understand. Well, why? Am I not doing it because I think from an accounting standpoint, somebody told me there was a good reason not to, or you're not doing it because you don't have that money and profit in your business to be able to. Um, and then, of course, 90% never reach the 7-figure range, which is a kind of shocking number, but there's so many small businesses that just never get past that initial hump and really get going. And the average MSP grows using their time and their money. We did a survey of 480 MSPs. looking at kind of the averages across that base. The average annual MRR, monthly recurring revenue, was 98,000. It's around 1.2 million in ARR, annual recurring revenue. The average client count is around 67. Their customers were about $1,500 a month in MRR. Per device price, $80 for those that were charging per server, $270 per server. And here's the one we really want to focus on and pivot around in some of this other conversation. The average per user and seat price is like 108 bucks. So that was the average of the people that we surveyed there. When you're looking at what a 1% or top MSP, these guys have exponential growth. They're definitely hitting their profit targets, and they have a maturity to even have the profit targets and to have the forecasting and have the budgeting and understand their numbers and where they are in reference to where they want to go in relation to that. They're definitely taking home market salary or higher. They add seven figures each year. We'll show you some examples of some of those people. And they understand how to use other people's time and money and connections. And I would even add on beyond connections, information, training, expertise, knowledge, to really scale things. So they know that to grow using normal methods will get them at best normal results, provided that there's no outside forces that come along and derail their plans. But we all know there's outside forces that always come along and try to derail your plans. So right now, I just want to look at three external forces that we know are current issues, so we can at least look at them and think of how we might be able to hit some of these head on. So the first one is the rapid expansion of what we call super MSPs. So what is a super MSP? These are the companies that are typically private equity backed or very large MSPs that have merged. They are aggressively buying market share. They're targeting your customers. They have big marketing budgets, big sales teams. They have the ability to invest heavily into operations and new client acquisition and back office support. I'm sure you guys have run into these guys out there. It's a little bit of a juggernaut to figure out how to manage and what to do about this. Um,
Yeah, Rob, I'd be
yeah,
interested. How many people are dealing with this in their market right now where they see them coming in? I know here in Nashville, every morning on my way to work, I see not only billboards for this for one MSP, but I see like I'll see at least two to four of their vans headed down the highway, like going out, leaving the Nashville area and headed down 65. I'm just going 15 minutes to the office, but I would say not a morning goes by without me seeing this on there. And they're I know a multi-million dollar, maybe even bigger, not multi-million, over 100 million, I should say, which I guess technically multi-million as well,
yeah.
but hundreds of millions for their MSP. So who's dealing with this in their market right now? That okay, definitely yes. So yeah, San Antonio. Oh, I'm in a small town, 31,000 residents, and I just saw one super MSP in town. Yeah.
Yeah.
So dealing with it also.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely there. I mean, some of this, I remember some of this started back when like copier companies and these other kind of companies were getting in. There was like Konica Minolta had one all covered, and that's where in my experience we started running into this. And then private equity got more involved and it's expanded. So which there's opportunities in this whole story too, though, about private equity and all, and about mergers and acquisitions. But just know that this is part of what you're up against. Um, Also, inflation. I mean, this is a period we're living through right now. It is certainly an external force that you can't ignore and you can't really control inflation at all. You can mitigate in some ways, but we find that the sales for MSPs are up year over year. MRR is up roughly 5%. You're busy with projects. That's great, provided that you're actually charging for them. But despite all this top line growth, gross margins down. And I mean, you hear that, top lines, for vanity, bottom lines for sanity. You hear that phrase a lot, and it comes up in a lot of places. But this is, one of those examples where you could say, well, I've got a $2 million company, but when you really look at like what you're bringing home, what your EBITDA is, what you're putting in your pocket, it's a different story. So yeah, so despite the rise in prices, would actually your margin is down. So that's a factor you can't ignore. And the third factor is, I'd say, especially in the tech landscape, we still are in a labor shortage. Unemployment is fairly low, and um, especially if you want those quality, qualified technical resources, these people are at a premium. At the last company I was at, just within the last couple of years, I mean, we had people getting offers, team members getting offers for ridiculous sums of money, and like knowing their skill sets. You could say on one side, well, they're not worth the money, but on the other side, they're getting those offers. So, um, that's certainly a factor that we have to consider here. So how do you fix it? Mike fixed it by just duct tape, because duct tape pretty much fixes everything. And if you can't fix it with duct tape, you just buy a MIG welder and you can fix everything else. And that's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much. That was my stand-up routine. Here's some other things you can consider if that wouldn't work, though. You need to be ready to pay your engineers more. In the case of one of the team members that I just was referencing, they were offered like 50% more, and we couldn't do that, but we had a very strong company culture, which this isn't on this slide, but really one of the ways to mitigate is to have a super strong company culture where people really love coming to work. They love the team you built around them and yourselves, and they have to think twice, like, okay, I might make more money, but am I going to have a worse experience working and a worse life going there just for the money? But in this case, we were able to give a significant bump somewhere in the range that's on this screen, and the person stayed because we had kind of that complete package, and they wanted to know that they were valued, and we also had to show them a path to how they could get to those higher dollars. So this is a reality. I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, and you guys are already running into this. But I think the thing I want to say is, don't just wait for this to happen with your team coming to you saying, "I'm sorry, I love you, I love the company, I love everything about this, but I've been given this offer and I have to take it because that's what's in the best interest for my family." Get ahead of it. Make the increase, show them a plan, get on that track. You constantly be recruiting. We used to call this always be hiring. Whether a position was open or not, we would be posting, we would be interviewing, and really, if the perfect and ideal candidate came along, we would try to figure out in the budget where and how we could add them and how quickly we could bring them in. This is really an important aspect, and also don't let your current project work keep you so busy that you don't prospect or you don't run these other marketing oil wells. Mike's going to talk a little about the marketing piece later, but you have to keep this thread going. And I know it's easy to say, and if you're only a few people, how you're juggling all this is a super challenge. But the reality is there's these other forces out there, and they don't care how many things you're juggling. And at the end of the day, your prospects probably aren't going to care. They just want the service, they want the support, they want their business to grow. So you have to keep that heartbeat going, and you really need to raise your prices, um, especially if you're in that average band. The year before I left uh, my old MSP, we did a price increase across the board. We did all this analysis. We were like, oh, well, we raise this guy this much, and this one's pretty good, and we hadn't raised prices in a few years, and we determined at the end that we just raised prices around, I'd say, 15 to 18%. We put like maybe two buckets. And I remember the day we sent out that we sent out an email first as an alert, and then we invited the conversations and all, and we were nervous. We also built into the formula what you should do too. What do you expect could be attrition based on this action and the offset? And we had about 80 customers, 80 managed customers, and I think we had to have conversations with like 5 of them, and we didn't lose any of them. I'm not saying that will be the result for you, but it definitely was a scarier step to take than the actual result of or the negative possible result of what happened. Okay. We surveyed this survey we showed you before, and we got that average per user price of $108 per seat. And what I want to tell you is those prices are too low. If that's the range you're in, and this is independent. I know people say, well, you were in New York, and I'm in the middle of I don't know where. Um, it doesn't matter. You have to get up in this 140 to 180 user range. And if you're selling advanced cyber or compliance on top, that number can go up even higher.
Yeah, Rob. So, I mean, one of the things, though, that's important is now, COVID accelerated this with everyone working from home. And this is where we saw these massive increases. Is now you could be in the middle of nowhere, but if you got a great tech, guess what? That company out of New York can hire that tech for their company and pay them New York rate instead. And so that's what we're seeing is just kind of what was it like Thomas Friedman said, what is it, The World is Flat, or I forget the name of his book with that, but really talking about how, yeah, it no longer has to be 5 miles, 15 minutes, 50 miles from your office. Now that talent can be anywhere. So you're competing with those places in San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, New York, Atlanta, all of those places. I'm just interested, Rob, because I hear some crazy rates when I talk with people. What's the lowest per user you guys have heard in your marketplace as a price? Not saying your price. I'm saying what's the lowest per user price for like reasonable. I'm not just talking like throwing on an antivirus or whatever there, but $10. There we go. 18,
$10.
$35. Yeah. Um, maybe you can just outsource. So for that
Yeah.
$3. I
Hey,
don't even know if that's a thing. Um,
how many dollars?
it
$3?
says three on there. So,
$3.
yeah,
All right.
that would be something. Yeah, let's
Uh,
hire their people. There can't be a lot of margin in that. What were you gonna say, Rob?
what I was going to say is, this is maybe a side thought to this is in your sales process, you really got to be ready to address that. You definitely want to, be positioned to show the value of working with you, but and to differentiate, of course. Um, but some kind of standard things are that if you're going to put a lot into your managed service offering, uh, if you know your numbers, you can't do that for $3 a seat. There's just not a possible way. So without disparaging your competition in the sales in a sales environment, I would nicely point out that, below a certain threshold, it would be very difficult to believe that anybody can deliver on the full package that we're talking about, that they need. And and if they are delivering it, it's probably not sustainable because, we have good margins in this industry, but they're not ridiculous margins where you could say, "Oh yeah, oh sure, I could take that down to $1 a seat." I mean, that's just not how it is. So, and a great point about the competition pool and the fact that it's not just your backyard.
Yeah. And just before you go on, Nick, who wrote in the $3 that he had heard, he said that person joined Technology Marketing Toolkit and is now up to $100
There we
a
go.
seat, which you're saying is still low, but I like
Yeah,
that from a marketing angle. I'm like, hey, we'll show you how to raise your prices by I don't even know what 33 times. What is that like
yeah.
3,000,
I don't know.
300%?
I'm
I
really
don't think
so
we can
bad. I think it's a
promise
million
that.
percent or something. It's a
Okay,
million.
probably
Yeah, yeah. I think
sounds good.
something like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll let you
that's
go on.
amazing. Well, we're going to encourage you to continue to polish up your offering and get things right and show the value and get to even higher seat count. But from 3 to 100 is a great start for sure. Better than a great start. So we know that this top 1%, we said, without the outside forces, but the key is that they know how they use leverage. And and this is the next thing we want to dive into here. So this kid was wondering, and you're probably wondering, well, how the heck do I do this? That's a great thing to say, Rob. Use leverage. It sounds smart. So let's look at 3 strategies of this top 1%. Um, they leverage organic growth. And I think for this section, we're going to hand this off to Mr. Stadola over there, who is, as CMO, I think is better equipped to start to talk about this organic growth section of our presentation. Do you think so too, Mr. Stodola?
Yeah, I do, Rob. But you might say
But
that
this
there's
isn't
more
the section.
slides. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was a little bit of a trick that I put out there for everyone. Yes, organic growth. You could also optimize every account and the mergers and acquisitions. So we're not going to let Mike talk about this because he's simply not qualified to talk about this man with his head in the sand. And what we want to talk about here is you can either look and listen to what we're talking about today, and that question that I asked opening up the event here is you can either look at all these external factors and look at these threats and just bury your head in the sand and say, you know what, this is going to be fine. I will get through this and I will continue to thrive. This actually reminded me when I saw this picture is back in the day when I did run that peer group out of Manhattan for Microsoft partners. It was right before the whole wave hit with everything starting to move to the cloud. It was right before, that was back when Microsoft 365, before it was Office 365, it was called BPOS for any of you older timers out there like me. And Google had come in ahead of it and had created a really good hosted offering. And Microsoft came in and Kevin Turner, top level, C-level executive at Microsoft came in and he's like, look, we understand everybody isn't happy about this. I remember he used this term, it stuck with me. He's like, we kind of got drugged to the party. And he was talking about having to catch up to Google. And of course, Microsoft has billions and billions of dollars, so they caught up and they innovated and all. But the point of the story is the partners in the room and the MSPs or the IT providers in that universe and that ecosystem at that time, a lot of them were going crazy with this whole concept. This is going to put us out of business. How can we survive this? Why is Microsoft going a subscription model? How come we got to move things to the cloud? Don't they understand that this isn't what small this entire and it was really like a time in our industry where there was a lot of disruption and a lot of fear and a lot of people put their head in the sand. But the MSPs that are around now and the people that thrive through all this, they said, okay, this is going to happen. This is happening. Like, we're not going to stop those forces. How can we align? And those companies became more consultative in their sales approach and how they could provide additional services and add on and wrap around. And so this is what we're suggesting here. You don't want to end up like the town that's closed down because when a superstore like Walmart came in or an Amazon came in, people stuck to their ways and said, we're just going to put our head in the sand because you're going to end up bankrupt. You're going to end up like Blockbuster. So we want to encourage you to think about using these strategies we're talking about today, and and coming up with the plan to really grow in 2024 and beyond. So a couple examples from our membership and people that we work with and know. We've got Stephen Taylor here from Leading IT. He grew $3 million in 10 years, which is pretty good. I mean, nobody would say that isn't. But then he added almost over $4.5 million in just the next 24 months after that. That's the kind of exponential growth we're talking about here. We got David. He added 310K in MRR, monthly recurring, $4.5 million in 3 years, and that was from like nothing to that in 3 years. I mean, I think that's an amazing number. And Adam Spencer, our current spokesman, um, he adds $1 million a year in revenue, and he tripled his average MRR. So, and this is great to look at too, because this is talking about who you're targeting and how you're taking care of your customers from $1,300 a month per customer to almost $5,000 with no increase in marketing. And we have Will Nobles. Many of you who have been around our community know Will. Will has a great company, Vector Choice. He's also a coach for us, and he also heads up the mastermind program. It took Vector Choice 10 years to get to $2.5 million. And you say, well, all right, that's okay. And then in the last 6 years, he's experienced 10x growth. He's on his way to $25 million. So this is all doable. I don't think that any of these people, and I've heard all of them talk, none of them would stand up there and say, well, we're super geniuses and we always knew how to do everything and this would be unobtainable for you. All these guys are like, hey, we bumped along or we figured it out, or in David's case, he came in more from a sales angle and they learned how to do it. They overcame the fear of taking big risks and they grew and they continue to grow. Um, so, I mean, now you've already heard this warm up. So I would like to now hand off this section to our CMO, Mike Sadola, to talk about leveraging organic growth. So take it away, Mike.
Okay, yeah, that was seamless. Well done.
Wasn't that
Um,
seamless? No,
Yeah, thanks.
no
Thank
problem.
you for that. So again, if you joined us late, I'm Mike Stidle. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Technology Marketing Toolkit, and I'm just going to talk about this portion here. And the good news on all this, like as Rob mentioned, like a lot of those people grew to like decent sized companies, something to be proud of. 10 years to get to 2.5 or 3 million, that probably still put them in the top um, from the stat before. It's definitely the top 50% of MSPs, might even be the top 10%. I don't know with that, but we wanted to take the strategies of the top 1%, the people who go from 3 million to 10 million to 15 to Will's on his way to 25 million this year. In the last 6 years, David adding over $1.5 million a year, Adam adding over $1 million per year, not like $1 million total for his revenue, but $1 million per year. So these are the strategies that those fastest growing people are using. And even if you say, Mike, there's no way I want to grow at 50% or 100% a year, you can scale these back. Um, at Technology Marketing Toolkit, we talk a lot about marketing and sales. So, not going to go deep into this. I'm actually going to give you some good news and tell you, even though we have probably hundreds of strategies out there, some of the best things you can do is really just take the low hanging fruit and scale one or two or three of those strategies that work for you. Now, and that's what David did. So, while we teach tons of things from referrals to trade shows to Instagram to YouTube to drops and seminars and telemarketing and joint ventures and everything. And then we have a whole sales funnel and hit them with retargeting and ads and mailers and calls and calls and calls and all of that. You've really just got to find a strategy or two or three that work for you well and really maximize those. So today we're just going to take a quick look at the campaign that David Javahari ran to become our Better Your Best champion a couple years ago. And this is out of our entire membership. People apply to win the contest of Better Your Best, which means they had the best strategies for growth in the last year. They actually have to submit their financials, all of that type of thing to even be a finalist. And then they're voted on at our boot camp by about 1,200 MSPs in attendance. And David won it 2 years ago. And I'm going to share some of his strategy. His strategy is not unique to that. And the reason I say this is why you don't need all of those different strategies is like Bruce Lee said, I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. You don't need a flavor of the month. You don't need to be doing more new stuff as long as you have something that's working and can scale. Let's take a look at David and what he did. So just as a reminder, he had been in he had had his MSP for a number of years. I think it was 4 or 6 years, don't remember exactly, and grown it to $60,000 a month in MRR. I think that's about what would that be? Somewhere in the 800, $900,000 range. So respectable. He was doing what he did, but then in the next 3 years, grew it to $4.5 million, adding $310,000 in MRR, and then some project work on top of that. So he added $1.5 million a year, just about per year in those 3 years with this. Since then, like I'm not sure you can disclose everything on there, but last I had talked to him in the last 2 years, he was about 8.5 million since this point. So he has not slowed down. He has actually sped up, now adding about $2 million a year to his business. And he's based in the Boston area. And he said, Mike, what one of my goals is, so he's a friend with Will Nobles, and he's like, I want to beat Will Nobles at his own game, except I want to do it with just one office, one location, and as few campaigns as possible, not trying to have 15 different offices and do all that. Now, Will's going to hit 25 million this year, so we'll see who wins this little contest. But I think growing from less than a million to growing to 8 to 10 million in about 5 years, David's going to be pretty happy with his own results. And he has just the one office and uses a campaign that looks a lot like this. So first of all, there's basically four fundamentals. We're going to go over these at a high level that you got to get right before you can successfully implement any type of marketing. And the first one is picking the right target market for the services you sell. So this can mean a lot of things. I'm just going to show you what David did. And what David did is he said, I want to concentrate on the construction industry, and I want a campaign for the construction industry in the Boston area that I can go after. So that's what he did. Then he did, hey, you need a second fundamental is a compelling targeted marketing message. So he went to the technology marketing toolkit, got a letter, that's our aspirin campaign, and then created a call script from that. Looked like this. This is actually what he shared with us. This is page one of that, but he got a message together for that construction person. Then you also need to find a media to release that. So that was a call script, but he didn't stop with a call script. He's like, hey, first I'm going to send them a letter, and the letter is just an excuse to call. So this was the actual envelope that he used for there, probably one of his actual people that he sent to. And then this is page one of the letter, how to secure your network, and says, are your current computer guys causing you to need one of these? So this was literally the letter that he was using to send out of this. And then you've got to make the math work on it. So, and obviously, he made the math work because growing from under a million to 4.5 million and now to $8 to $10 million doing this, it's definitely working for him. Now, he started out doing about 400, and now this is going to sound like a lot to some people, and it might sound like a lot to a lot of people, but he was doing about 400, let's go back to those letters per week, all following up with phone calls. He's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go big. That's the difference between normal growth and 1% growth. A lot of people are like, I'm going to do 10 or I'm going to do 25 or maybe even 50, or if you're really aggressive, 100 letters a week. He said, no, I'm going to go huge. I'm going to send out 400 of these a week and follow up on every one of them. That would be about 1,600 a month. Last time I talked with him, he's doing it's over 10,000 a month now. It's like a crazy number that he's doing, but he's like, I just created a campaign that worked and keep going to more and more businesses with the campaign. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I don't need 15 campaigns out there. And now he went outside the construction industry and he probably increased his radius around Boston, but he didn't go into different markets. He didn't offer a bunch of different services. Most recently, he has tried to go upstream with some commit options as well, built in there, but he's just going to that same market using very similar messaging, using very similar media, the same things that work, tweaking it for those and just extending it. So the big lesson here is you don't need to do 15 different campaigns. I mean, there's a lot to choose from. You don't need to do posting and blogging and videos and YouTube and calls and letters and get sales trained and do all the telemarketing and do that 15 times. You got to find a couple things that work that are scalable with that. Now, that can be different for everyone. I'll tell you internally, we have a webinar we've done for about 2 years. We do the exact same webinar every single week. We get most of our leads online. We spend thousands of dollars a week getting people onto this webinar that we do every week. And last year, it accounted for about 40% of our new members. Same exact webinar. We didn't try to pick 10 different webinars. We didn't even try 5 different webinars to do this. We found one webinar that worked and said, hey, there's a lot of MSPs out there. And it's going to take us a while to hit them all. If we can just get 10 to 15 to 20 people on a webinar every week, we know that'll be 3 or 4 sales and new members for us. We've been running that campaign for about 2 years. We've got another campaign we've been running since 2019. It's still our #1 lead generator. So we just try and scale that campaign. So it doesn't take 10, 15, 20 campaigns. We can account for about 4 campaigns that we use for new lead generation that account for 90% of our new leads. So if you can just find the right campaigns and test and see what works for you, and then scale it. Don't do 10 a week and think that you're going to be a top 1% MSP. Do like David and do 400 a week. That was his starting, and he had to get the list and find the people and do all that. But he's like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it big. So with that, that was leveraging organic growth. And as Rob said, that's the only thing I'm qualified to talk about, and maybe barely at that. So we're going to pitch it back to Rob here, who's going to go over optimizing every account, strategy number 2.
Well, Mike, I feel like that was worth the wait. I think I was right in trying to get you on sooner because you are compelling, sir, and you know a lot of stuff. Let's go on with this. And I found out in PowerPoint, if you click, more things come up. So this is exciting. So we talked about the organic growth, and now
Hey,
I want
Rob,
to talk.
Rob,
Yeah,
real quick. Oh no, okay, I think you got it. I've just
you
got it
got
on
it?
another
You got
screen.
my
I want to
screen?
make sure you were coming up. Yep, you're
Okay,
good.
cool. Now we're going to talk about optimizing every account. So this is really a lot around account management, and it's kind of become a passion of mine here. I've been involved in a number of different facets of this since I've got here 6 months ago. Um, so let's first of all talk about how well does what I'm about to show you actually work. Um, so, so just for context of why we have strawberry, and you're going to have another name or two that sound weird. Um, we have an expert in residence here for our producers club, Paul Sissel, who is he's done a ton of mergers and acquisition. He's just super qualified, very knowledgeable guy in the industry for 40 years, and he did a master class for us on account management. And in that master class, he shared results and introduced us to a number of customers that he works with that are all MSPs. But because there was some sensitive nature to sharing all the data, he code named them different things. So Strawberry is a company. It's a real company. It just has a funny code name here. But their growth over a 3.5 year period, they had an increase in enterprise value of 159%. Now, enterprise value is that the amount you can get when you sell your company. And they had an increase in their service revenue of 140% with no new logos, which I think is incredible. So let me tell you a story about 2 MSPs out of Nashville. Um, you've got roughly the same revenue, the same target customer profile, about the same number of clients. They have a similar tool set and tech stack. You know, they're using some of that, best of the industry stack and tool set. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, you could almost just from the outside at least just swap logos, and the companies are really very similar. But the first MSP has customers that are all compliant with everything they recommend. Their bottom line profitability and their bank account, personal bank accounts, are the envy of their peers. They're well positioned to acquire new companies and maximize their clients' value. And they just received multiple offers to sell their business for FU money. So that's certainly the MSP category I think that you all would like to be in. The second MSP has customers that fight against all their suggestions. They feel like they're doing everything they can to increase profits, but the business isn't growing, and nor is their personal bank account growing. And they feel chained to their business and realize that they've only created a job for themselves and can't see a way out. And I haven't, I've had a number of coaching calls where people were in this position, and now they've moved, into that more advantageous position. And unfortunately for the second MSP and people in this bucket, when they attempt to sell or they're thinking about selling, they find out that their business is only worth a fraction of what they thought the value would be. So have you ever wondered what makes that kind of difference between those 2 MSPs? The difference is one MSP understands how to maximize their client value and the other doesn't. So how powerful is this? Quail, another code name here, their growth over a 3.5 year period with no or limited new logos. So we're talking about just just keeping what they have and maximizing this, their enterprise value increased over 300%, which is, I mean, amazing. And their adjusted EBITDA increased almost 600%. Their adjusted EBITDA, that's their percentage of profit of what they have afterwards. And adjusted EBITDA is even more exciting because that means after they've paid themselves the fair market value, they're getting a good salary, and they still increase this EBITDA of 582%. And I also would throw in here that this isn't like some statistics from 20 years ago. I mean, Paul Sissel actively is working with these companies, and this is over like the last 3.5 years, not some time in the past. So really, really incredible results. Among our own membership here, Stuart Bryan, a great member. He's also one of our captains in Producers Club. He went to that masterclass. He came back. He did some price adjustments, like we were talking about before. You got to do some price increases, and I mean that class was, I think, the first or second week in December. In under 30 days, he went back and worked on those strategies, and he added over $100,000 in new annual recurring revenue. I mean, that was like a mind blower. So the stuff definitely works. So let's get started into digging into this a little bit more. So a big misconception is that your greatest revenue generating customers are your most profitable. I know you think, again, that vanity sanity thing, that top line, they're cutting me a big check every month, so they must be my most profitable. But the truth is, the customers that you think are most profitable may be draining your time and resources. So we want to just talk a little bit here about how some keys to figuring this out. Okay, um, you really need to understand how to calculate your cost per hour for service delivery. So I'm just going to say this quickly, how you do this. If you have another way to do this and you already know it, fantastic. If not, here's my recommendation. You got to take the salaries of everybody on your team that are directly billable for service. And that would include your salary if you're doing more than 51% tech work. You put all those salaries in a spreadsheet, you add them all up, uh, you add on the burdened rate, right, for PTO and all the other stuff. So you get this blended or this fully burdened salary. You add them all up. You divide by those number of people to get your blended annual salary. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that turns out you add up everybody, you low pay, high pay, it's like $50,000. You take that number and you think about utilization for a minute. You know that techs are never 100% utilized. You also know that a full-time employee working 40 hours a week works 2,080 hours a year. I think that's a pretty standard metric, 2080. So you figure out what those hours would be annually based on your utilization. If you're only getting, 50% utilization, then you're going to use half of 2080. And you take that and you divide that number that you came up with before by that utilization rate, and that's going to give you your cost per hour for service delivery. Just you work through it. The math's not that hard. So once you get that, you go look now and you try to pump out of your PSA either in minutes or hours or whichever way you can get this out. Go to all your customers and say, well, how many hours did we take servicing this customer in this year? And now you have a way to get some idea of what it's actually costing you, because you have, if that per hour rate just say comes out to $50 an hour, and you know that you're 100 hours a year taking care of these people, then now you've got some dollars to work with. Then from there you can determine profitability of those customers and rank them. And I'm going to show you what this ranking means in a minute. And after that, uh, you can then identify the clients that need attention now. They either need attention because um, they're grossly unprofitable and you have to do something, or maybe they need attention because they're tremendously profitable and you're not paying enough attention to them. So various reasons. But the first thing you need to know is to be able to know who they are and what this is. And I find time and time again, even among, you know, MSPs that have some pretty great top line revenue, they don't know this. They're guessing. They're guessing based on relationships or what feels like a good relationship. And when they do this analysis, they're often surprised at who their most profitable and least profitable customers really are. So the goals of account management here, we want to get alignment. We want them ultimately to get 100% buy-in of our offerings and 100% tech stack alignment. Um, I'll just say, go back for a second. I know I'm saying this, everybody's like, yeah, of course we'd like that. But if you really focus on the account management, you focus on the strategic partnership, you perform the quarterly business reviews, you stay in lockstep with your customers' business goals, and you have a good handle on your numbers, you can get them close to this goal. And certainly for almost everybody that I've spoken to, you can certainly get more than where you are now. And then we've got stickiness as a goal. You want to keep out the competition. It gets you consistency in projects when you're really on top of this, and it's easier technical management of accounts. And the reason we put stickiness up there is it's retention. I'm going to show you a statistic a little bit later, I think, of it costs a lot of money to acquire a new customer. I'll give you the exact statistic later, but it's significant cost to obtain a new customer, however you look at it, with all your effort in. So you don't want to lose anybody that you don't need to lose. And we used to have an expression at my old MSP called zero fault attrition. I mean, some people are going to get acquired, things are going to happen, but you don't want to lose a customer because either you had poor service delivery or you didn't create a strategic partnership and just somebody came along with a lower price and walked away because you didn't build this stickiness. And then, of course, we want to maximize gross margin. You want to upgrade the undersold clientele. And if you can have greater EBITDA and profitability in your company as a result of this, this gives you an opportunity to reinvest in better employees, better tools. You can treat your clients better. And so this is of key importance, and this is how some of those code names, Strawberry and Quail, how they increase their enterprise value and increase their profit because they maximize this. When I said A, B, C, D clients before, you want to rank them once you do that math. So if you've got a service gross margin of over 65%, we call those A clients. You just want to stay close to them and can either start or continue to provide those strategic business reviews, quarterly reviews. If they're B clients, they're in this other range. You need to develop a plan of how you can get more market share, more wallet share, to move them into those closer in alignment. That first column, 100%, 100%. C clients, you almost want to look like they don't exist because you either got to have a plan to move them up to B, and then ultimately to A, or they're probably on the edge. You want to downgrade them and look at them like D clients if they don't align really with you. And if they're D clients, these are the people you got to raise their rates considerably, 2 to 3 times, because that's not good margin there, under 35% margin. And or you let them go. I mean, this is snarky here. This was actually from Paul Sissel. You just recommend your competitors to your clients. I have one other way I want to look at this too. That's A, B, C, D purely by margin. And this is by alignment, I'd say. So another thing you can overlay into your analysis is, are these customers your target client profile, your TCP, target customer profile? Are they the right demographics, psychographics? Do they fit? Is it what you want to work with, or are these just people you ended up with? Are they on your full meal deal? This is also from Mr. Sissel. That's like, are they buying your fully managed package at the best tier, and fully engaged with all of your offerings? That's the 100%. And are they fully aligned to your tech stack, which is also incredibly important, because if they're not, and you've got multiple products you're supporting within each category, multiple firewalls, and multiple applications and multiple different switches and all that across, it's just complexity across the whole landscape. So you can't optimize. And are they on your full and current pricing? And this is the other matrix you want to lay over it. So in most cases, you're going to find a correlation between low margin, D, and probably D in this graph as well, where they're not really aligned. But you may find some cases where you have some good margin and they're not aligned, and so you got to use both of those factors to determine what you can do to maximize the value of that. Scratching the surface on account management, but I think a few things. If you get an idea really of those numbers and rank those customers to start, you're in better position than a lot of your peers. So, hey, Mike, do you want to talk about mergers and acquisitions?
Yeah, I would
Oh no, wait,
absolutely
I'm sorry, that was my
not be
mistake.
qualified
Yeah, yeah, I think I'll
for
take
that,
this one.
as you said earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I guess I'll take this one too then. Geez, I'm really screwing up with the bullet points. So with the mergers and acquisition, um, this is now also we're talking about leveraging. We're trying to leverage other people's money and people. Um, so why M&A? 50% of MSPs add less than 5 new customers per year. And I got to go a little bit quick here because I think we're running short. Um, you always feel like you're either over or understaffed. This was the statistic I wanted to highlight before. It costs about $27,000 to acquire a new customer. Yes, this is a real statistic. This is all in cost for sales and marketing. So if we play with this statistic and say, well, if you acquired a company with 30 clients, that would have cost you $810,000 at $27,000 per, and 6 years at five per year to do it organically. So um, and there's some difficulty also with competition and the time to acquire new clients organically. So the answer is you can buy dozens of new logos that come trained staffed at a known cost, or at least some number of new logos. Why people run away from this is fear, lack of money, lack of experience, lack of a plan. And so, referencing, we mentioned Steven earlier. This growth for him, that amazing growth, came through acquisition. He gave a great talk on this, I think, a couple of years ago. And this is Will Nobles again with Vector Choice, also mergers and acquisition. Um, this quote from Dale Carnegie: fears the lack of confidence. Lack of confidence is not knowing what you can do. Um, no, not knowing that is by a lack of experience, and that lack of experience is caused by a lack of doing something new. So let me just quickly give you 7 mistakes to avoid here um, in this whole mergers and acquisition. Not knowing the seller's motivation. You need to know why they're selling. What are you actually getting? Is there a reason they're running away, or are they just selling because it was part of their plan? You got to know the client mix. You don't want to buy somebody you think they've got 80 clients, but 5 clients make up 90% of their business. Not knowing their full stack. You don't want to end up in a situation where you have to integrate all these new customers and nothing's aligned with your stack. Hidden agreements, handshake deals, long-term contracts. You want to look at the MSA. You don't want to end up where, oh, John used to just service me because we used to play softball together, and you're stuck with this relationship now. Um, Another mistake is not having a good, clean client handoff when you onboard and you're meeting your new base, um, and not having a client retention plan. You don't want to acquire this company. You think you're getting 80 new customers, and then because we fumble these areas, you end up in 6 months with only 40 customers. Um, and you want to look and make sure there's no crazy license violations that they don't have like a bunch of Sonic walls that they somehow got some eBay license for or something. So you got to start off the relationship with these new customers saying, sorry, it's going to cost you this ton of money to get things right because the last guy, you know, what wasn't actually doing things on the up and up. You at least want to be aware of that. So what we've covered here are what separates the top 1% from the rest. Um, we looked at the 3 fast scale strategies of the top 1% and how any MSP really can use these strategies in their business. And now what we want to give you some information on the question I asked at the beginning, if you're really ready to do something, take action and get involved, if you want a more deep dive on these strategies, as Mike mentioned, and he probably will jump in here now too. We did this event in Orlando. It was a full day, really well received. That we called the MSP Growth Day. I'll just quickly say that one of our attendees there, Gino, he was so excited. He actually gave his testimonial that was like, a book. But I pulled out this. He said this is the best he's seen from TMT this year, and for MSPs looking to grow, this content is fire. And I just wanted to say that this content is fire, Mike.
Yeah, so I like that. So it was an event in February, and he said it's the best event he's seen from TMT this year.
Well, it's
So
the facts. It's true.
yeah,
The man's
it
not a
is.
liar. The man's
That's
not
a
a
heck of
liar.
a testimonial.
Well,
Rob,
yeah,
I'm
I
glad
thought so.
now we got that out of the way here. Yeah, we threw into the chat a link to this, but it's mspgrowthday.com. So coming on here. So this event happened in Orlando. Like we said, it's a small event and went well. We wanted to do a webinar on it, and then also we got our events team after this happened I'm sorry, in February, and said, hey, what are some other cities? What are some other areas that we can do this? And I think we've got those here. Excellent timing, Rob.
Thank you.
So we arranged to go to Dallas in May. So that's next one coming up. Newark, Toronto, first time we've been there that I know of, north of the border.
Hey,
So our friends up there. Chicago, and then we close out the year in sunny San Diego in December. So if you're not close to any of these areas, December in San Diego is a nice time to be there. Just going to say with that. So can join us at one of those. And so, Rob, what's an event like this cost?
$50 million.
Okay, well, we're close. So we're going to go with, I think right now it's at early bird pricing. So it's 99 bucks for the day
That's better.
um, on that. Yeah, a lot better. If it were 50 million, we could say save a lot more money.
Yeah.
So it's $99 now. Obviously, not looking to make a lot of money on this because these are small events. 40 to 60 people are all that they hold. We wanted to keep them small with that just because of this. We also know they're not for everyone. But at this event, it's going to go much deeper into the three strategies you heard. We tried to pack the very best of the best into kind of that hour, but from account management to organic growth to actually how to get MDF and get vendors to pay for that, two mergers and acquisitions. There's actually a couple sessions on that. And then if you are interested in attending at one of these cities, there is an offer to attend a private dinner. I believe that's limited to just 10 people, where they're paying for dinner, drinks, all of that. I think to add that on is a whopping $100 as well to do that. And that was the first thing that sold out at the Orlando. So we thought we'd do it again here. And they said it was just a great dinner where that'll be hosted by Will Nobles. And so you could really talk with him, and he's going to go through, tell you anything, answer any questions you have about how he grew from literally 2.5 million to 25 million in the last 6 years with that. So, Rob, I might jump over sharing and just ask you a couple things. So, Rob is one of the presenters at this event, and if you guys have any questions, do put those into the Q&A, and we will get to that. But just taking you to the website. So again, it's in the chat, mspgrowthday.com to reserve your tickets. Like if you know, and the reason we're charging $99 is because if we don't charge $99, a ton of people sign up and then they don't show up, which just hurts our feelings. But because there are limited spots on this, I like the $99. It's not a big hindrance, especially if you're looking to do these strategies. Hopefully, you can get there. We did just make it a one-day event. This is not material that will be covered. I know we got our biggest conference of the year with boot camp coming up in just what do we have? 3 weeks here. We'll be in the middle of boot camp. It's not that information. This is not stuff covered at Rapid or anywhere else. This is a totally standalone event brought to you by our kind of sister company, MSP Success and MSP Success magazine for that. So as we go there, so pick your city that you want and go ahead. And as long as tickets are available, those will come up. You guys are about the first to know. I did release this to some marketing managers and stuff yesterday just to show them what we were doing. So we might have a couple of spots filled, or if you have the ins with some salespeople, there. But the bottom line is they're going to show you do a number of case studies and the strategies on how MSPs have used this to go and grow to 7 to 15 million in the last couple years. So all of these things we talked about today in deep, deep, deep context with that. Sessions will include, again, this is Will Nobles, CEO of Vector Choice, who's on his way to $25 million, primarily going to be talking about mergers and acquisitions, but he's also going to talk about the organic growth strategies and pricing and packaging. One of his big things is buying companies that maybe are selling for $80 a seat and getting them up to that 140, 160, $180 a seat, and how he does that successfully. It's also going to be talking about the key strategies to exponentially multiply your value in the next 3 to 5 years. Even if you aren't looking to do an acquisition, a merger can be a huge thing. So he recently, about what was it? Well, about a year and a half ago, merged with another large MSP out of Texas and instantly multiplied their value. Didn't just get half of a pie that's twice as big. With that, they got half of a pie that's like 3 times as big. As your value grows, your multiplier goes up with your profits and your revenue. But I'll also show you what could be a bad merger and acquisition. And we had Frank DiBenedetto going to be talking about a multi-million-dollar MSP exit case study and how you can do that. Then we've got TMT's Aaron Light, and he's really going to do that deep dive on organic growth strategies from the fastest growing MSPs. So it's about how to add not just 25 or 40%, but 40 to 60% to your bottom line year after year after year. And then we've also got Tanya Gentry, who's our chief sales officer at Big Red Media, sister company. And she's going to talk about how you can get market development funds, MDF. So get your vendors to pay for your growth. She's been showing people this for years now, actually did some of the most attended webinars we did last year. And there's reports that are coming out on this, and she's going to show you how you get that money. And then last, but certainly not least, we got Rob Patterson, who's going to talk about how to increase revenues 10 to 20% a year almost instantly without adding a single client. And then, as I mentioned, there's the optional bonus opportunity, the dinner with the experts. That's a behind the scenes look at, we got to like update this now. We set a $15 million MSP, but he's at acquisitions and I think he's closer to 20 million now than just making this a few months ago for the one event. But it's a small private dinner limited to 10 people. Go select your city. Want to join us in Dallas? Go there, and let's just make sure the pricing is all there. Okay, thank God this worked, or else we'd have to get rid of me.
Yeah.
So $99 right now. So that still is in the early bird. We're exactly a month away from this one. So if you can make it to Dallas, if you want this quick, go there and join us for that day. I know we had some questions, Rob. Let's see. Can you see the questions, or did you want to do that? Oh, and while you didn't do that, we had someone in chat said, "Hey, what about a case study from someone recently who's not in a town of 100,000?" And I instantly thought of Hunter and Mike Farlow. So this group is out of. I had to look up where they're from. They're from Graham, North Carolina, is where they started their MSP, and population 17,000 people, not 170,000, not a million. 17,000 people, and they're actually competing in this year's Better Your Best competition. What they did last year, they grew their gross revenues by 1.5 million, and they increased their net profit by 1.1 million. I think they're now over $7 million is what they've grown. And again, Graham, North Carolina. Now, obviously, they've extended out from there. They could have probably get all of the business in Graham, North Carolina, and not be able to do 7 million. But this is their home base, their HQ. They still operate out of there, and they're going to tell how they've grown from that $2 million MSP to $7 million at our upcoming boot camp. But they are using the strategies that you're going to learn about and that we talked about today. A lot of their stuff is around organic marketing, and they have some campaigns. Again, there was a campaign alone that within the first couple days of running the campaign, and it's a crazy campaign, not going to steal their thunder. They're going to be presenting from stage at boot camp, but they added about 100,000 in annual recurring revenue within a couple days of starting that campaign. So it's absolutely wild. But if you want someone, I'm sure there's dozens of examples. They were just the first one I thought of. So a group out of Graham, North Carolina, MSP doing $7 million a year. And post COVID, this is their increase last year in both revenues and profit. So
Hey,
I'm gonna stop
yeah,
share here. Yeah,
Mike, let's talk a little about like what the day is actually like. I mean, so
yeah,
you got those
absolutely.
presentations. I mean, so we did the one in Orlando. It's it's not quite the fire hose of say some of our events that are many days long, but it's a nicely packed day. We had the room was full. People were of all different levels. We had people in there that were from our producers club who, which I'm running. We had accelerators members in there. We had, if you know our membership, we had some people in launch. We had some people who weren't even officially, in a membership yet. So and even Gino, the quote we gave, I believe he's a launch member, and he was the one who's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so useful to me. And the part of the thing that I didn't include because I didn't want to fill up the whole slide with all the words, but he said that he originally registered for it, and then he kind of second guessed it. He's like, I don't know if this thing's really going to be for me, and then he decided to go, and that was his testimonial. I was like, wow, this is such a useful event. So I think you get a good cross section of strategies. Mike mentioned Will. I mean, if you guys have heard Will, he really knows how to give you information in relatable terms. If you haven't heard from him, I mean, he's just very successful, but like a laid back guy who just tells you kind of the unvarnished way things are, and he's got a ton of experience. So those tips that I ran through, those 7 mistakes to avoid that I had to go through so quickly, those are directly from him. He's got more in there. He's got 2 different sessions, and he really it goes in the ins and outs of not just if you want to acquire a company, there's that, but also the whole idea if you want to potentially merge, if you're at a point in your career where you're like, you know what, I don't know. Maybe I'm more like company number two that I was talking about earlier, where maybe I did build myself a job, and maybe I don't have, the time window to really, grow this thing to some massive multiple and exit. There's that whole idea that you can merge and potentially level up. So if there's a part or an aspect of what you do that you really love, but other aspects of running your business now that you don't really love, that's another thing that Will goes into is what to look for in that way to say, well, maybe I can merge and just deal and be like, if you love the technical still, maybe you could be the CTO in that merger instead of having to worry about everything else in these different realms. So Will's talking a lot about that. Aaron is an excellent presenter, and he'll go deeper on that marketing front. And I sat. I'm actually emceeing these events. So if you liked my personality at all, you come and hang out. We'll hang out. If you didn't like my personality, you can come and avoid me. That's fine too. There's plenty of content. I sat in the back of the room for all of this content in Orlando, and it was all like I watched the room. Everybody was leaning in the whole time. They're taking notes. Um, yeah, I think it's awesome that we've opened up other dates and we tried to spread it around so you can get to one of them.
Yeah, I think our events team loves that when we go to them and say, "Hey, this one event, plan 5 more now, and it's got to be this year." But
Yeah,
but we did.
they love it.
So it is what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, if you want more information on that, if you liked what you heard today and want to go much deeper, go ahead and there. So Rob, I wanted to answer a couple questions that we had that came in
Okay.
for this as well. We had a question: will this be posted to the portal? We'll actually send out a replay link to this for everybody who was on here. So if you've been watching, we will get you that replay. It'll take us a day or two to get the video rendered and all that good stuff and up on a page, but we will have that for you. Then we have,
Oh wait, can I add to that though? But what
okay,
we do want to mention is the full day content. We're not recording it. It's not.
that
It's
is true.
it's live. You can go to that. There won't be a way to buy that or like there's no cameras for that. So if you want the full dive and the full day, you really got to show up there and get it.
Yeah, and like we're not doing that and then going to have it available later or anything, just because
No.
of the questions that happen in the room. And that's like that dinner with only 10 people. People are sharing financials. They're kind of going over some things that definitely wouldn't be wanting to share on camera, possibly, but they're just among 60 of their closest friends there. So
Yeah.
really, so those are not recorded at all. So each one's a little different depending on the crowd, the questions, everything with that. So that's a really good point. You do have to attend live to get that. Um, and I will say Rob's not that bad, especially for just a day.
Yeah,
So
you can handle me
yeah,
for a day. Yeah,
that
most
that
people.
that testimonial is about as good as the one we shared. That's
Yeah,
content all year. January 3rd. So
not that
okay,
bad.
then, and
Yeah.
maybe you can answer this. I am not qualified to answer this, or might get people from the audience. Sheik is saying, how much higher with MSSP and compliance can you get per seat? I don't know, Rob, if you know of any numbers or if that's,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I was trying to hit that where we had that figure. I mean, you get into the 200s, but that MSSP is sort of a loaded question too, because that's a little different than just saying, oh, what if we have advanced security or advanced cyber security rather? MSSP, you could be getting into, SOC, 24-hour monitoring all. So those numbers could go up definitely easily in the mid 200s or higher, but it all kind of depends on exactly how you define all of that. Compliance too, that's another whole layer. You could take it in different chunks. And I think the main point to focus on is if you're down here in the like sub 100, um, you need to be thinking of increasing. And if you can add on those other services, that's how you're gonna and get your customer base aligned. That's how you can really maximize that value.
Yeah, perfect. And then the other question, and kind of going once here. So if you have a question, throw that into the Q&A box. But Bill said, what's a good unique value proposition for an MSP? And Bill, what I did that I forget we have some people who aren't TMT or technology marketing toolkit people on here. So I did throw a link in there to itmarketingconsult.com. And this is a free consult that you can go ahead and sign up for. You'll be actually on with one of our um, senior consultants like Aaron, could actually even be Aaron, who's now, I was just talking with him the other day, Rob. He's worked with over 8,000,
Cool.
excuse me,
Wow.
of these MSPs. It chokes me up. So
Yeah, that's
8,000
a big
to do
number.
this. So but he could get you some of that information. Okay, then Paula just added, are Hunter and Mike at the one day or boot camp? So Paula, yeah, Hunter and Mike are actually presenting on stage at our boot camp that happens in 3 weeks. They are not at the one day, though. I wouldn't be surprised if they might attend one of the days. They are not presenters at the one day. That is at our boot camp. I simply brought them up because someone in the chat early on wanted to see an example of someone who was in a sub $100,000 or 100,000 person market and a recent example. And they just came to mind because I can't think of much smaller who's done much more with that. They're just a phenomenal story, super smart, just the nicest guys
They are
in
so
there.
nice. They're so nice. It's like, how can you be so successful? Coming from New York, how can
Yeah,
you just be that nice? They are nice people.
yeah, absolutely. So I think that's it. So again, hope you got a good information on here. Hope you more than that. Rob, what was your first question that you gave to people?
Are you ready to take action, or you just want to hear a bunch of information and, go back and feel smarter, but
Yeah, so
not
so
more profitable?
not
Yeah.
knowing how to do something is not a reason not to do it. Hopefully, we gave you some of the initial steps of the how. If you want to dive deep into that, mspgrowthday.com. You'll dive a lot deeper and get step-by-step plans going through the numbers. Get an Excel sheets from Rob, who loves math. Because what's your saying that you do there with math, Rob? What is it?
More math, more fun.
More math, more
Oh,
fun.
hey,
That's right.
we didn't even mention that. Yeah, I know I kind of sort of flew through that whole way to analyze, and I got to the gross margin, the profit. See, you got me all excited with the math and fun. But I in the 1 day session, in my session, I really break down some of those simple math formulas you can use to make sure you're getting the gross margin, and it really kind of dive into that a little more in depth so you can walk out of there uh, with your analysis, and then also a little deeper dive on some of the next steps you take once you know those ABCD. Yeah, it's a great session. It's a great session. I don't know if it's
Uh,
the best session, but maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't see our friend mention that session, but I'm sure it was one of the best.
That was the subtext
Yeah, he said it's one of the best 5 sessions that he saw
all year.
there. Yeah, that
Yeah.
day. So, anyways, okay, guys. So, thanks so much for being on with us. And I know we got a number of people wrote in. We'll be seeing them at boot camp, whether we see it there or at MSP Growth Day. Or if you're brand new to us and want that free consult, click on that link, itmarketingconsult.com, and get a custom roadmap for your business. Thanks all. Thank you so much, Rob. We'll talk to everybody later.
All right. Thanks. Take care.